Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2673 Goodbye by Longzi-1. As he flipped through these letters expressing goodwill, he casually circled certain paragraphs. Look. Yang Xinshin leaned over from the side. Why is that sentence? We are willing to share intelligence with your country in certain areas to a limited extent, being used. The translation of this sentence is, I want to turn hostility into friendship. Zhang Yi smiled and wrote a big he on the paper. And this sentence too. He then pointed to a line in another telegram. We believe that your country is an important force in maintaining regional stability. That sounds nice, doesn't it? She's quite good at flattering people. The next sentence is, on this point, we hope that your country will exercise more restraint in future conflicts and take on more responsibility for the whole and the country. He shrugged as he said this. Translated, it means, I hope that the Huaxiu Kingdom, especially you Zhangyi, will no longer wage war against other distant civilizations. Uncle Yu, who was listening nearby, let out a cold laugh. To put it bluntly, they admit that we are not to be trifled with, but they are unwilling to give up their own pride. They want to drag us into this act. Zhang Yi laughed indifferently. Let's act it out. He organized all the telegrams and handed them to Yang Xinshin, who was in charge of diplomacy. When replying, the tone should be warm and the attitude sincere. However, the stance should be ambiguous. Say more understanding, respect, and expectations, and say less promises and guarantees. They called for sticking together for warmth, and we nodded in agreement. As for whether we'll warm ourselves by the fire or cook together, we'll see when the opportunity arises. Zhang Yi meant that, on the surface, he maintained a harmonious relationship with them, meeting with all the necessary people and eating all the meals they were supposed to. The group photo was taken very well, and the press release was written in a very friendly manner. Everyone knows in their hearts that this seemingly peaceful, mutual respect is just a thin layer of skin covering the current tense situation. The true undercurrents are surging beneath the surface of every country. The Huaxiu Kingdom was quietly growing stronger in secret, while the 5 ancient civilizations cautiously observed from the outside. The entire region was like a taut string. If anyone exerts even a little force, the arrow will fly out, and it's unknown who will get hurt. Under this delicate balance, Zhang Yi once again embarked on the journey to the Dragon Kingdom. No matter how much the 5 great civilizations tried to curry favor, Zhang Yi knew deep down that those who were not of his kind were bound to have different intentions. The 5 great kingdoms were still determined to destroy Huaxiu Kingdom, but they suddenly changed their attitude only after witnessing Zhang Yi's strength and the changes in Huaxiu Kingdom. But what about after that? The current situation is like the spring and autumn and warring states periods, with unpredictable developments. Zhang Yi is not confident that Huaxiu Kingdom can always suppress the 5 ancient civilizations. However, whether he should take the initiative requires consideration of many issues. For example, what are the attitudes of the major powers around the world? For example, if it were truly a 1v5 situation, what would be the chances of Huaxiu Kingdom winning, and what price would they have to pay? He will not provoke a war in the short term, because time is on their side. In a maximum of 20 or 30 years, Lu will unlock almost all the technologies of the self-raiding sand civilization and the ephemeral engineers. In that way, Huaxiu Kingdom will leapfrog into at least the 2nd tier of the world in the field of science and technology. Why not the 1st tier? Because the 1st tier of civilizations relies more on the strength of individual beings. For example, the dragon race. In this universe where everything is built from the fundamental matter, technology is indeed the way, but only longing is eternal. With these doubts in mind, Zhang Yi decided to visit the Dragon Clan and ask for their opinion. He contacted Hailongji Wenjing and expressed his attitude. When Heilong saw Zhang Yi, his eyes showed obvious surprise. Zhang Yi's change in strength was something he could certainly sense. It's been 2.5 years since I last saw you, and your strength has actually improved to this level. It seems that the gifts from the Ihan clan have not been in vain. Zhang Yisin was somewhat surprised. You actually knew? The ocean composed of 14.8 billion units of spiritual matter from the Ihan race, and the baptism he underwent, remains a great secret. He originally thought he was unaware, but Yuan Jing actually said it. Yuan Jing snorted lightly. I know more than you can imagine. If it weren't for the blessing of the Ihan clan, your potential would probably be around 40,000 points in the Alien Index. Otherwise, what makes you think that you, in just 10 years, have accomplished what other geniuses of distant civilizations have accumulated over decades or even centuries by gathering the strength of their entire race? Zhang Yisin was deeply moved. The strength of the Dragon Clan truly exceeded his expectations. If the Dragon Clan knew that the heritage of the Ihan clan was so important, why didn't they participate in that trial and assessment back then? Zhang Yi asked, puzzled. Yuan Jing looked at him with an expression as if he were an idiot. You dare to enter Tianyu Palace. It is ignorance that breeds fearlessness. For a civilization of that level, who among us who knows them inside and out would dare to rashly enter their territory? Going to the territory of the Ji family means that our lives are in their hands. It's you guys who don't understand anything. That's why you went in so recklessly. Zhang Yi felt embarrassed. Indeed, if the Ihan tribe had wanted to kill them back then, none of them would have survived. Yuan Jing wasn't particularly envious of Zhang Yi's extraordinary encounter. She simply said, This is your destiny. Cherish this gift. He took Zhang Yi with him and headed to the foot of the Qinling Mountains to find the spatial node leading to the Dragon Domain. The familiar sky unfolds once more. The Dragon Kingdom still floats in a realm that is half real and half unreal. The sky is so deep it's almost black, and in the distance are floating islands and inverted mountain ranges. Dragon runes flow through the air like a galaxy. But unlike last time, it's different. Fuxi did not appear. He was greeted by Longzi, who was dressed in a pure white robe. He stood on the edge of a floating island, his long hair hanging down, his eyes gentle, and he looked like a clean and pure ink painting. We meet again. Longzi looked at Zhang Yi, his eyes gleaming with a strange light. You seem to have changed a bit. He had barely finished speaking when he suddenly reached out his hand towards Zhang Yi and grabbed him hard. The entire space distorted, and Zhang Yi clearly felt his body involuntarily moving closer to Longzi. This time, however, he was no longer at a loss, nor did he know nothing, because his eyes, when they were open, showed a spatial distortion trajectory. So this is how the White Dragon Prince's power has always been activated. The realm of no form. Zhang Yi immediately activated the Boundless Realm and began to fight for control of this space. Zhang Yi, who had already arrived in front of Longzi, was instantly pulled away to a distance of 5 kilometers. This scene made Longzi Yuanma frown, and his gaze become strange. Chapter 2674 Goodbye, Longzi 2. Longzi's face remained calm, but for such a stoic and arrogant dragon genius, the mere look of astonishment in his eyes was enough to reveal how shaken he was inside. Zhang Yi's superpower index increased too quickly, but he didn't care. Ability index does not absolutely represent combat strength. Especially as you progress further in the story, mastering your superpowers becomes the most important thing. For example, a ball of cotton weighing 100 kilograms that isn't rolled up won't hurt you if it hits you, but a steel needle weighing a few grams can kill you. The final part of the spelling is the understanding of superpowers and ether. Therefore, if it were 2.5 years ago when he met Zhang Yi at the All Races Negotiation Conference, even if Longzi and Zhang Yi had the same ability index, he could have relied on his understanding of the space system to suppress Zhang Yi and fight him. But Longzi couldn't accept that Zhang Yi had only spent 2.5 years catching up with him in terms of understanding spatial abilities.
Why?
Because he was not only a genius, but he also had a legendary figure like Fuxi, who had lived for hundreds of millions of years, constantly teaching him. Longzi's gaze turned serious. At this moment, Zhang Yi was overjoyed because he had finally broken free from Longzi's control. Once an unattainable existence, he can still sense Bai Longzi's power, but he is no longer as powerless as before. Bai Longzi made his move again, using himself as the center, and the entire surrounding space rippled like a painting. Space is flexible, capable of folding and stretching, and everything above space is like an ant on a piece of silk. As long as the silk is stretched or folded, ants will be passively repositioned even if they are not moving. Bai Longzi's spatial power was stronger than Zhang Yi's, allowing him to occupy the entire area within his domain. Zhang Yi knew that Bai Longzi was testing his abilities. Without hesitation, he activated the time power of his left eye, the second hand of time. Within seconds, he had grasped all of Bai Longzi's movements. His right eye saw the vibrations in space and the directions of spatial folding and extension. Although he was no match for the White Dragon Prince, he was able to evade him by anticipating his opponent's moves. From the outsider's perspective, the two were not fighting at all. However, Bai Longzi remained standing in one place, while Zhang Yi, like a point of light, kept flashing, suddenly appearing in one place and then in another. The standoff ended after a few seconds. The coldness in Bai Longzi's eyes as he looked at Zhang Yi was slowly fading, replaced by a more mature and respectful gaze. He nodded slowly. Good. Zhang Yi quickly cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your guidance, Senior Bai Long." He had witnessed Bai Longzi's strength, and if Bai Longzi were to actually make a move against him, Zhang Yi would likely only be able to take the beating. But Bai Longzi was merely testing his abilities and stopped short of that. Then, Bai Longzi said to Zhang Yi, "It is inconvenient for Grand Master Fuxi to see you, so I will receive you on his behalf this time. His absence actually makes me feel more at ease." Zhang Yi wasn't disappointed. After all, how could someone like Fuxi only get to see him once in a single visit? Some things are the same whether you talk to Bai Longzi or not. Zhang Yi walked alongside him, watching a silver dragon shadow sweep across the clouds in the distance. The two walked into the Dragon Clan's palace while talking. There is no opulent and elaborate decoration here as one might imagine. Instead, there is a simple yet orderly aesthetic. Numerous technological devices are cleverly embedded in the building itself, with energy pipes and rune arrays woven together, giving it a look that is both modern and old-fashioned. Zhang Yi casually touched the faintly flickering light patterns on the pillar. "Your technological level is by no means low." He couldn't help but exclaim, whether it's energy utilization, space folding, or information encapsulation, they are ahead of us in many areas. You have left behind many convenient facilities for the people. He looked at a small tower in the distance used for weather regulation. Technology used to improve the environment and enhance the quality of life is everywhere. The things that are truly useful for fighting are pitifully scarce. Bai Longzi turned his head and glanced at him. "Are you here to inspect our defense capabilities?"
No.
Zhang Yi waved his hand. "I was just curious. With your technology, it should only be a matter of time before you build a mechanical army that can sweep across the world. But your mechanical life forms seem to be very restrained. I saw the Spider Mask Legion on Earth and thought it was one of your combat units." Zhang Yi said with a smile. "The first time I saw the face spider was near the Purple Pyramid in the Qinling Mountains. At that time, the ignorant and arrogant foreigners from Huashu Kingdom came in groups, hoping to pluck a piece of the sacrificial spirit. As a result, he was chased and left in a sorry state by those face spiders. From today's perspective, those faceless spiders have no combat power whatsoever, and they aren't even equipped with weapons. I later learned that most of those spider-faced machines were just industrial models." Bai Longzi nodded. The Spider Mask Army is indeed intended for industrial and infrastructure maintenance. There are very few combat models, and they are subject to many restrictions. We certainly did not regard mechanical life forms as essential tools of war. He paused, then turned and sat on a floating jade platform, gesturing for Zhang Yi to sit as well. "What brings you here today?" "I went to Mars." Zhang Yi didn't beat around the bush and simply gave a brief overview of his experience on Mars. "The engineer agreement of the Ihan clan." the remains and technological fragments of the Sand Raider civilization. How did he use these things to pull the entire Huashu kingdom onto the high-speed train of mechanical civilization? Now, 6 months have passed. We have tasted the sweetness of developing mechanical life forms. National strength has risen rapidly, defensive force fields have been laid along the border, and the armed capabilities of the entire population have been greatly enhanced. But correspondingly, those concerns are also increasing. He looked at Bai Longzi. I want to know if my approach of focusing all my efforts on developing mechanical civilization is the right one. Your dragon race clearly has the ability to build mechanical legions, yet you only retain the technology for the convenience of civilians. Have you already gotten through this part? Bai Longzi listened quietly and remained silent for a long time. You ask me if the path you're on is the right one, he said softly. The answer was not originally with me. The universe has existed for approximately 180 million years. Earth has existed for approximately 4.6 billion years. During this long period of time, far more civilizations have been born than you can imagine now. Here ends today's chapter. I hope you liked it. Kindly do also subscribe to my gaming channel. I have to Fina a way to survive. Thanks.
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises. Thank you.